grounded in their area. Because I needed to become part of the process, I needed to come up with a research question for this research inquiry. Rather quite a long sentence, and I think I'm going to narrow it down eventually to just how am I becoming more critical of my practice, perhaps. But these two areas of developing, engaging in your own learning and emancipation practice is important as well. It's all based upon my values, which I've realised now I did have values, and I do have values, and they're now becoming embedded in my practice. So my values at the moment, I'm looking at inclusion, challenge and respect, and they all come together really as one package. I feel I challenge people, I think I challenge, respect people, and I look for an inclusive practice. I used to think, and now I know I do. This is what this inquiry's allowed me to do. Chomsky's belief that it's a fundamental element of human nature to have, to gain knowledge, to have knowledge, and to explore. And I'm wondering why we've always shut those barriers and said, this is what you will learn today, you will learn that tomorrow, and you'll get that the next day. In fact, there shouldn't be barriers, and we're learning that through my practice. My belief, the learning potential there, you have to be able to develop it, but you have to be able to be given those challenges, to be able to challenge your own preconceived ideas, etc. And again, Dewey in 1960 says to empower people to act or to improve, they must first be able to be enabled to test their own capacity for improvement and knowledge. So you've got to be given those chances to test. So what did I do? These things. First of all, they're all mixed up because, to be honest, I don't know where I started. I think I started gathering, but I also had already done lots of things. So I started to teach in a different and more critical way. I know I did because I started asking questions of my students rather than telling them what to do. I engaged in critical thinking in the literatures, which explored the ideas that I'd already had forced upon me in educational circumstances. I began to gather data about how my students felt. Why aren't you good at PE? What do you mean by good? So I asked my questions. I also kept a record of what was I doing. So if you don't think you can do that today, how am I going to assist you to feel better about it? So I noted what I was doing and how I was learning. I then invited some students from the PGCE course, which I came across for the most prolonged period of time, initially 89, and I narrowed it down to 28, which is one group of whom I had for every 15 sessions. I then asked them, what do I do? Do I practice what I preach? Do I show that I have an inclusive practice? Am I showing respect? And do I challenge you? And I asked them for feedback, as I did for my critical friends. I offered descriptions and explanations for my practice, and I was open and available for those people who wanted to ask further questions. I gathered my data by doing questionnaires. I gave them a questionnaire at the beginning, my participants, who had been through, I'd been through the ethics committee and all those systems that we had to follow. My questionnaire, they filled in how they felt about, what they felt about PE, and how they had improved in their ability and practical skills. I took field notes, which involved myself and also my colleague whom I was working with, team teaching at times. I've got emails, informal discussion, personal reflections. I then sorted this data into evidence, which I could then test against my values. All became basically my living standards of judgment.
5 minutes.
Yeah. So, how did I monitor my own learning? Now, these people jumping over these hurdles, to be honest, if you were to sit in a propositional stance, I'd say not one of them has the correct technique. But I no longer see it in that propositional stance. Everyone's getting over a hurdle at some stage, and I see these hurdles in our learning. As long as you can try and get over it, even if you have to crawl under, it doesn't matter. We'll come back to that another time, perhaps. This is my participant's quote. One of the most sad quotes there was the fact that she was quite good at PE, but in fact it was only the walking race that she was entered for, so I don't suppose that was very good anyway. That's the type of thing that I don't think is fair for people. Action research has made me reassess my values, revisit my values, revisit my practice, and I can see it now, that cycle that we originally talked about back in our first few sessions really is true, and I really am living it within my practice. I'm facilitating my transformation of my values in my practice, and I'm modelling it in the hope that my students can see that influence, that they too can also take on board and transfer, transform and improve. A picture by my son. What do you like about PE? What scares me, which are my concerns, there are still some boxes. So why do we have boxes? Perhaps he didn't mean to do those boxes, perhaps he means nothing about it, so maybe I'm just looking at why have I got boxes there. So I think that is actually a concern for me. I'm questioning everything, maybe I need to backtrack there. My evidence is that my lectures are more open, I have more discussion. My students are commenting that their professional development is continuing even now in practice through their emails to me saying thank you. I'm seeing my practice change as I continue to teach my children. I see the children in my care as having fun and smiling in PE. I never thought I'd be this type of teacher. That is the great influence. What I need to do is keep looking at my own practice. I need to generate new theory, new knowledge, and I need to share that now more within our institution. I've got a PE department sat in an office upstairs I need to start communicating more with and seeing what we can all do together to improve practice. Living educational theory, I think are all examples of it. And I wish you now to say, what picture would you draw of living educational theory in PE? And I shall leave you with my picture. Notice? No red pen.
What's that? No red pen on the table.
Tennis.
To do 10 press-ups then.
I have